Stepping up to the couch, it's Brian, who led the league last season in cracked screens. But with his new athletic case, it looks like that won't be the case. Touchdown, Brian!
Over the course of a player's career, the level of expectations for them varies depending on their talent, prior production, role on the team, and various other factors. Sometimes draft picks don't live up to the hype right away, sometimes the way the game is played changes and players don't adjust well enough, and sometimes injuries can plague a player throughout his career to the point where they are never the same. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing 3 players that were on the brink of being either completely out of the league altogether, or just being an irrelevant bench warmer, but are now using their last chances to completely change the narrative around them and rejuvenate their careers. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player up on this list is actually a former MVP of the league and multiple-time All-Star, being Derrick Rose, who is now making his resurgence on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rose had hype around his name since high school, being a top 5 recruit, then leading his Memphis college team to the national championship, then going on to be drafted number 1 overall in the 2008 draft by the Chicago Bulls. With that amount of hype comes expectations, and early on, not only did he match those expectations, but he was honestly blowing them out of the water. He won Rookie of the Year in his first season, got selected to his first All-Star game in his second season, and in his third season in the league, at only 22 years of age, he was named the MVP of the NBA, becoming the youngest player in league's history to win that award. His ascension to greatness was historic, and he was destined to go down as one of the all-time greats if he kept it up. The biggest parts of his game that made him so lethal were his lightning-fast speed both with and without the ball, and jump out of the gym athleticism, and his craftiness at the basket to the likes that we really hadn't seen before. He was leading his Bulls deep in playoff runs too, but in 2011, his run ended at the hands of LeBron James and the Miami Heat, and the very next year is where things began to go downhill. In the first round of the playoffs that year against the Philadelphia 76ers, he tore his ACL, and from that point on, injuries have plagued him almost every year since. He continually tried to make comeback attempts, and they have always been derailed by serious injuries. Just last year, he was a teammate of LeBron's on the Cleveland Cavaliers, trying to make a comeback, but as had been the case so many times previously, he once again struggled with injuries, and later came out and admitted that he seriously considered retirement. He took time off from basketball to reevaluate his future in the NBA, but ultimately decided to continue on, and after being traded and waived, he got picked up by his former Bulls coach, Tom Thibodeau, who was now the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this year, it's been proving to be the best thing that could have possibly happened to him. His quickness and explosiveness may not be what it once was anymore, but Rose has proven that he has put in a lot of work on improving the rest of his game, and looks like a totally different player that came very close to making the All-Star game this year. He's averaging about 18 points and 5 assists per game off the bench for the Wolves this year, making him a strong candidate for 6th Man of the Year, and his shooting efficiency, which he has tended to struggle with, is now a major strength. He's shooting 48% from the field and 40% from 3, which for a guard are both tremendous numbers. Rose was really never much of a three-point shooter before, so this improvement has been vital to him being able to rejuvenate himself in a league that revolves around the three ball more than ever. After everything that Rose has been through to this point in his career, it really is so great to see him back on top, and still being only 30 years old, should still have a few good years left in him. The next player up on this list is Jahlil Okafor of the New Orleans Pelicans. Ja, like Rose, has been in the spotlight for the majority of his basketball life, dating back to high school. He was the #1 recruit in the 2014 class, and went on to play for Duke. At Duke, he only played one season, but he dominated the post and showed off his professional skill set from down there and helped his team win the national championship. After that, he got drafted 3rd overall by the Philadelphia 76ers, who were in the middle of their historic and infamous rebuild. So right away, as a rookie, Okafor got just about every opportunity possible to show off his game and get touches as a #1 option. He put up pretty solid numbers as a rookie, averaging about 17.5 points and 7 rebounds per game, but the Sixers only won 10 games that year, and Okafor's biggest weaknesses were ones that were extremely detrimental to winning basketball in the current league. He was slow on his feet, which caused him to struggle to rotate properly on defense, which has eaten him alive as a result on that end. He also didn't really have any shooting range outside of the paint, limiting him and the team on offense as well, even though he was so skilled as a post-up player. The modern NBA is about pace and space, and Okafor's at his best when the game slows down and he can play bully ball down low. Because of this, it's been said so many times by people that Okafor was born in the wrong generation, because his skill set is what old school NBA teams built championship contenders around, but not anymore. As the Sixers improved as a team and Joel Embiid got healthy, it became clear that they had no real need for Okafor, so in order to give him a chance elsewhere, they sent him to the Brooklyn Nets in a trade. The issue with this, though, is that not even the Nets gave him much of an opportunity despite going through their own rebuild. Jarrett Allen was a lot better as a rim-protecting and rim-running center as a rookie than many expected he would be, so he earned the starting job. But Okafor was still battling with Tyler Zeller for the backup spot, and most times lost that battle. This year, after a rough first 3 years, was probably going to be his last chance. If things didn't work out this year, it would be very unlikely that another NBA team would have given him a shot, but he signed with the New Orleans Pelicans this summer, and because of Anthony Davis's injury that caused him to miss a few weeks, Okafor was able to replace him in the starting lineup and has shown a ton of improvement. Since his first start with the team, he's averaging about 17 points and 9 rebounds while shooting 66% from the field. His post-game has been better than ever, and while he still isn't a good defender by any means, he's definitely been giving better effort on that end of the floor, which is a good sign. In 4 of the 11 games that he's played, he scored over 20 points, and in 5 of those games he's grabbed double-digit rebounds. He may never live up to the hype that comes with being a top 3 pick in the draft, but as long as he keeps working to improve as a defender, he'll have a spot in a team's rotation because of how good his offensive game is. The third and final player up on this list is Kenneth Faried of the Houston Rockets. Unlike Rose and Okafor, though, Faried didn't have nearly the amount of hype from the start. He wasn't even ranked coming out of high school, went on to play for Morehead State for 4 years, and then got picked 22nd in the 2011 draft by the Denver Nuggets. Being someone that was picked near the end of the first round from a smaller school, he didn't have nearly the amount of expectations either, yet he came out, worked hard, and earned a major role on the team. He quickly earned the starting power forward spot as a rookie, and in the 348 games he played during his first 5 seasons, he started 331 of them, coming off the bench only 17 times. His biggest appeal as a player was his motor and his energy, as he played with an intensity that earned him the nickname the Manimal. He's super athletic, finishes well above the rim, catches lobs, and runs in transition. He was also a terrific rebounder, especially on the offensive end, and he would consistently year after year grab over 3 offensive rebounds per game, which would always rank near the top of the league, which got him several easy baskets per game. During the 2017 season, though, he began to experience some back issues, which he tried to play through, but it clearly bothered him. He missed 15 games that year because of it, and he also had his worst season as a pro to that point that year. Then, the next year, the Nuggets signed Paul Millsap, which basically pushed him out of the rotation completely, as he clearly wasn't the same player that he was before. In his final season in Denver, he was only playing 14 minutes per game and didn't even play in half of their games, and he averaged 6 points and 5 rebounds, which isn't all that great. As a big man who relied heavily on his athleticism, losing that edge because of his bad back, whether or not he would ever be an effective player in a rotation again, was seriously questioned. Then, this season, after being traded to the Brooklyn Nets, he was once again traded to the Houston Rockets, where they were without both Clint Capella and Nene at the time and desperately needed big man help. He stepped in right away, getting consistent big minutes for the first time in a few years, and has been thriving alongside the playmaking god that James Harden is. In the 12 games Faried has played with the Rockets, he's averaging 16 points and 10 rebounds per game, shooting 63% from the field. He's been great in pick and rolls, finishing at the basket, and is back to being a dominant offensive rebounder, grabbing 4 per game, which would be 5th best in the league this year. Faried and the Rockets are a great fit for each other, and it may have even saved his career. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NBA content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.